Hi, welcome to Celebration Bar Review. In today's video, I want to talk about a book that I was recently turned on to that I really love and that I think has a lot of application for bar takers and really for people in all walks of life. As an introduction, let me say that one of the things that I've been really excited about in the last few months has been the widening growth of partners, strategic partners for Celebration Bar Review. For example, we've now managed to set up a working relationship for our foreign trained attorneys with one of the preeminent experts in legal writing for foreigners, Professor Jill Ramsfield, who was my mentor at Georgetown, but then went on to the University of Hawaii and has been awarded accolades all around the world for the work that she does in that particular field. In the same way, we've got long-standing relationships with Centerpoint Research Institute doing meditation with their Holosync program, with Paul Sheely and learning strategies for a number of their programs, including photo reading and some of their paraliminals. And we added a new hypnosis program made available to our students by a good friend, Dustin Saidi, called I Passed My Bar Exam. But the particular area that I want to cover today actually came to me from another of those resources. It is a lawyer out of California named Elena Ducharme, who works with neurolinguistic programming and works with our students, in fact working with several of our students right now, to assist with anxiety, stress management, a variety of things that come under the sort of the broad umbrella of getting ready for a high-stakes test that are not substantive in nature. So a nice partnership there, and she does some terrific work. Well, in any event, she and I were having a conversation not too long ago, and she turned me on to a book by Carol Dweck, Carol Dweck, D-W-E-C-K. And the book is called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. And I heartily recommend it to any and all of you. It's a quick read. It's a good read. It's an important book, I think, and one that is really, I found very profound in things that it identified that I already knew sort of internally and maybe without giving the right words to it. Well, here's the essence of what Professor Dweck talks about. She says that there are, in essence, two broad categories of people in the world, as all people that categorize do. And in her hierarchy of the world, there are two mindsets. The first mindset she calls the fixed mindset. Now, the fixed mindset is characterized essentially by people who have been told probably all their life that they're smart or they're intelligent or they're talented in athletics or talented in the arts or have some special gifts and skills. And everything that they do from that point on in their childhood typically is an attempt to validate that praise. Now, what that essentially means is that someone with a fixed mindset views any attack on them or on their capability is as an attack on that validation. And so they tend to be very defensive, and they tend to be not great risk takers. She gives a lot of examples in the book from all different areas, but she talks about successful people, but people like John McEnroe, for example, who consistently sort of imploded his own success as someone with a fixed mindset, someone who was constantly finding excuses and reasons for whatever lack of success he might have had, even though he had great successes. And she also points to some people in business, people like Lee Iacocca, who had early success at Chrysler and then again imploded and really ended up kind of being pushed off to the side. That's a fixed mindset. Then the second category that she talks about, the one that she finds much more desirable, is a growth mindset. Now, people with a growth mindset essentially take on new challenges and new opportunities, and they look at them as opportunities to learn and obviously to grow. And to someone with a growth mindset, a failure, a particular failure, is only another opportunity for learning and growth. And I think you can see right away where I'm going to go with this in the bar exam. But she identifies some people, again, in a variety of settings who had a growth mindset. One of the ones that she mentions, which I thought was really interesting, was Michael Jordan. Jordan talks about the fact that he missed so many shots at the ends of games, and he had to practice hard, and he had to put in more hours, and he had to do more work. But he didn't mind that because he wanted to get better. He saw himself as part of a team, even though he was clearly the most talented basketball player maybe of all time. And so he had a growth mindset. He kept getting better and better and better. From the world of business, she talks about some of the leaders, for example, the woman that headed Xerox Corporation in their turnaround in the early 2000s, as someone who kept learning and growing and improving and seeing the work as a team item. She uses Jack Welch at GE as another example of a business leader that learned and grew, and in spite of the fact that there were dips and problems, I mean, he made a horrific investment in another company early on, but learned from it and grew from it and became more successful. All right, so you've got these two mindsets, a fixed mindset and a growth mindset. How does that figure into the bar exam? Well, as I work with students, over the years, I've found that I get more and more bar repeaters. I think that's because of the reputation of our course as being one that can help people in that situation. And while we have lots of first-time takers, I'm particularly interested in the bar repeaters because I know how anxious they are and how difficult the process has been for them. I would say that without ever being able to have characterized it this way, in fact, Professor Dweck's characterization is probably correct. There are those who are of a fixed mindset, and let me try and describe that a little bit for you. People with a fixed mindset take, let's say, and fail their bar exam. Now the problem is that they feel that that has attacked their validity as being smart, as being competent as a lawyer, as being a good law student, as being a good member of the bar, a variety of things. They're not smart enough, they're not talented enough, they didn't work hard enough, whatever it might be. The fixed mindset person then looks at that situation and says, well, it's not my fault. And they take that position because to accept fault would completely upset their worldview. So it becomes the fault of the bar examiners. It becomes the fault of the bar review provider. It becomes the fault of the other people in the room when they were taking the test, or it's the fault of the technology, or it's the fault of the law school that prepared them or didn't prepare them adequately. It's the fault of the economy. It's the fault of, you name it. Okay, it's my parents, it's my siblings, it's, you know, whatever. These kinds of students are very, very difficult to deal with. And I think anyone that teaches in any setting knows that someone that comes in saying, you know, pointing fingers at everyone else is not a very good student to have. These are people who essentially say, if I can't win on my terms with my inherent capability and innate ability, then I'm not going to play the game. And so they go back and they do the same thing all over again, and guess what happens? They get the same result, and now they're madder at a wider range of people, and they keep doing it until eventually they just give up, and they say, you know what, I never wanted to be a lawyer anyway, or screw the bar exam, or whatever it might be, and they become really angry, hateful people. And you can find lots of them out there. I mean, go to virtually any message web board about the bar exam and you'll find people who take that approach. It's all Barbry's fault or Celebration Bar Review's fault or this person or that situation or this school. And I'm not saying that all of us are not culpable in some way. I'm just simply saying that that's the primary focus for the people with a fixed mindset. And it's very tough to change their outcome because you can't change their mindset. Not that you can't, but they won't. The good news in all this, I will tell you, is that you can change mindsets, at least according to Professor Dweck. Now, the person with a growth mindset might also fail the bar exam, but they come at it very, very differently. They're the kinds of people that will say, you know what, I failed, now I want to get better. I want to learn what I did wrong, and I want to change what I did wrong. I want to improve. So if I didn't study hard enough, I'm going to do that. If I didn't write my essays in the best possible way, I want to change and find the best way. If I didn't study for the MBE in the most effective way, I want to change that. I want to go from a big course to a small course, or a small course to a big course, or whatever it might be. Now, these people are people who typically have this approach of, I'll treat this failure not as an indictment of who I am personally, but as an indictment of where I was on the day I took the test, and I know I have to improve. The beauty of working with a growth mindset student is that we don't have to walk on eggshells with them. We don't have to worry about criticizing the work or the study because this is the person that says, look, I just want to get better. And very often they're the people at a conference with me who will say, what else could I do? You know, what other comments do you have? They'll be pushing me to give them even more feedback because they want to improve. Now, I'm not saying that someone with a growth mindset will automatically and always pass the bar. It may take them more tries. I've talked about Tina Hoover, who passed the California bar in her 21st try. She came to us on try 19, but she had a growth mindset. She simply said, I'm going to get better and better and better, and she did, and then she passed, and she's been a very successful member of the bar for many years now. And I've had lots of examples of people like Tina, maybe not as extreme, but people taking the bar 8 or 9 times before they came to us and passing the exam because they had a growth mindset. They were willing to learn. One of the most frustrating things for a teacher is to have someone come to your class who has already been unsuccessful and proceeds to tell you how they're going to learn. It's sort of like, well, wait a minute, if you knew so much about this, how come you didn't pass already? And really what that is a fixed mindset. They're simply saying, I refuse to take any chance or risk because it would cut into my own self-view, my view of the world, my view of where I fit into the world. Professor Dweck is amazing in the way she analyzes this, the studies that they've done with young children, with adults, and others. And one of her interesting findings is that simply by telling people at the beginning of a trial, a field study, by telling people that they are innately brilliant, or telling them that the purpose of this trial is to learn and grow through failure, they can create the mindset for that task in someone. So they can create a fixed mindset or a growth mindset. And then they track how they do and what they come up with. The people in the fixed mindset do remarkably worse than the people in the growth mindset. In addition to which, and this is really fascinating, people in the fixed mindset tend to lie when telling others about how they did on the task in front of them. And this is true whether we're talking about children or adults. So get that. They're so invested in themselves they can't even bring themselves to tell the truth about how they did, even when they did pretty well. And you ought to read the book to get the full gist of that, but it's a fascinating idea. Well, I don't want to leave you hopeless if you're a fixed mindset person, because one of the great things that I think that Dweck talks about is the idea that you can change your mindset. You can move from a fixed mindset to a growth mindset. Now, I think it's safe to say that in some areas of our lives, we're probably all one or the other. In other words, I think in some areas I may have a fixed mindset. When it comes to my basketball skill, I have a fixed mindset. My singing skill, I have a fixed mindset. She claims I could change that to a growth mindset and improve. I'm not sure anyone would want to pay the price to witness that. But in other areas of my life, I clearly have a growth mindset when it comes to learning about new ways to study and new ways to teach and new ways to write and developments in technology and so on. I mean, I screw up all the time. I mess up all the time, but I learn from those screw-ups, and I think I get better over the years because I can do that. So clearly, in some parts of your life, you may be a fixed mindset person, and others a growth mindset. The neat part is that if you make a conscious decision about something like the bar exam, a high-stakes test, whether you're a first-time taker or a repeat taker, you're going to be able to take that mindset and say, look, my approach here is I'm going to learn from my failures. When I do practice MBE questions before the exam, I'm not going to worry about how many I get right. Instead, I'm going to worry about what I can learn. So the more I miss, the more I learn, and that's an okay thing. Similarly, if you're writing a performance test or an essay, instead of going for perfect or passing right out of the box, accept the notion that in order to learn and get better, you're going to have some criticism, whether it comes from an outside source or you review the work yourself, and so that you can see how to make that work better. When you take that approach, you inevitably do get better because now you're experiencing the things that cause growth. You're experiencing that irritation that makes you do better, write more words, write faster, write more directly, answer questions more appropriately, eliminate wrong answers more effectively. In other words, if you'll take that growth mindset, I think you can improve your performance on the bar exam almost without exception. And I really think that's a terrific opportunity for all of us to think about as we prepare for an upcoming exam. I know that for me, this is a great opportunity as I'm teaching to point out to my students with a growth mindset that they have it and to encourage it, but also for those people with a fixed mindset to point that out and say, you know what, maybe we'll make more progress by you giving up that fixed mindset, at least in this area, and not just assuming that the bar exam measures your innate intelligence or your innate lawyering ability, but that it is an arbitrary exam. And it's an arbitrary exam on a given date and a point in time, and you can change that on the next point in time. So I hope you'll keep that in mind. Again, the book is called Mindset, The New Psychology of Success. The author is Carol Dweck. And Elena Ducharme, who you can find a link to on our website, is the person that does a lot of that work in neuro-linguistic programming. And I think it's fascinating and terrific work. And it certainly bears great results. So I hope that's helpful to you. It's just a brief a slice of what the book entails. There's a lot more in it, but I wanted to share that with you because I think it's really important as you're studying and getting ready for this upcoming bar exam. If you've got any comments or questions, as always, I invite you to comment here and let us know. I look forward to hearing from you, and I hope that your mindset continues to be one of growth and not a fixed mindset. Thanks.